Atención, advertencia, el siguiente video va a patear traseros. Si te encantan los mini camiones y vehículos tuneados, haz clic en el botón de me gusta a continuación. Que lo disfruten.
Hey guys, good morning. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day. Real quick, I would just like to say thanks to all my new subscribers. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you have any questions, feel free. Drop a comment down below. I'd be more than happy to fire away at you. So with that being said, let's get started. Our last video, we discovered our problem. This video, we're going to correct the problem and move forward. We got 3 brackets made up. We've got 1 more in the vise, ready to go, almost complete. And had I have done this from day 1, I wouldn't be in the position I'm in now, but it's okay because it's all part of learning. Everyone's human, we all make mistakes, and that's why they put erasers on pencils. One more thing, I reached out to Man Candy, which is Garage Fab. If you don't know, well now you do. I'm going to leave a link to his description. I'm going to run a clip from his video. I've got permission from him about the Watts link, and I spoke to him on the phone in regards to having your propeller straight up and down, or you know, sideways, and he said it'll be perfectly fine. Most important thing when doing a Watts link is your bars. Your bars must be equal length. They can also be one longer than the other, but it's better to run equal length bars. It's better to have your bars parallel at some point in the suspension travel, preferably at ride height. Mine is going to be set up at ride height on the wagon, so that's about it. But we're going to get started on getting this rear end together.
I followed all the rules when building a Watts link. I wanted to quickly talk about which rules are really important and which ones not so much. 1, both bars should be perfectly level at ride height. It is important that both link bars are perfectly level at some point in their travel, preferably somewhere near half travel. But a Watts link, even in an extreme position like this is now, will still work just fine. Both bars being level at some point in their travel will ensure that your axle is moving straight up and down. But on this truck in particular, the truck has 12 inches of travel, but I have the bar set up to be level at 4 inches. It's very important to know that by doing that, you're potentially pushing the Watts link to the extreme at one of the points of travel. The danger with Watts links and adjustable height vehicles is the potential to overextend the Watts link. If one bar and the propeller straighten out, you have the potential of hyperextending the Watts link, inverting it, causing it to lock up, kind of like bending your knee backwards. And I imagine it'll hurt just as much. It's easiest to set up a Watts link with both bars level, so you might as well follow that rule. While on that topic, when your Watts link is done, the link bar mounts on your frame should not be at the same level, meaning one should be higher than the other. If both link bar mounts on the frame are at the same height, that means it's impossible for your link bars to be level with the ground simultaneously. If your frame side link bar mounts are at the same distance off the ground, you've done something wrong. As a rule of thumb, the mounts on the frame should match the propeller. If you have 6 inches between the bolts, the mounts on the frame on one side should be 6 inches lower than the other. Both link bars should be exactly the same length. Believe it or not, no. I designed my Watts link to be adjustable so I can move my axle left and right between the bed sides. So if I have to adjust the position of my axle, my link bars will technically be 2 different lengths. But since the propeller moves freely, it will actually absorb the difference between the 2 bars. It's important to understand though that if your bars are not exactly the same length, the arcs will be slightly different, and therefore your axle won't be moving perfectly straight up and down. The bigger the difference between the bars, the more noticeable that angled movement of your axle will be. So it's best to try to keep your link bars the same length. The propeller must be centered on the axle. Again, no, it's kind of the same as the link bar length. If your propeller is not centered, your link bars will be 2 different lengths, which could be okay to an extent. The propeller could technically be mounted several inches off center, and believe it or not, it will still work better than a panhard bar. The propeller must have a Z-shaped angle at ride height. Not necessarily. On an adjustable height vehicle or any vehicle that has a lot of suspension travel, that angle is much more important. If you have a static height vehicle that's built for the street, you'll probably only see 2 to 3 inches of suspension travel. So if when your bars are level with the ground, your propeller is straight up and down, don't worry about it. It's okay. But with a vehicle with a lot of suspension travel, building the Watts link so that the propeller is angled when the bars are level will give you extra movement in the propeller so you don't have to worry about it. As a side note, the bigger the propeller is, the less it will move during suspension travel. So on adjustable height vehicles with a lot of travel, it is better to have a larger propeller. And if you only have a few inches of travel, you could have a much smaller propeller. The larger the propeller is, it's less likely you'll reach that point that the Watts link inverts. But the larger the propeller, the larger the distance between the frame side mounts. So it's kind of a thing. Is that it? I think that's it.
Well, spent the latter part of the morning cutting up brackets. These are for the bags. They're gonna mount on the bar. I still gotta tack these together. These are for the link bars, which go right here. I've got my upper link completely squared, zeroed out, which is a beautiful thing. Always looking to do that. I've got 3 1/4 inches all the way down the side of the frame rail from here to the link bar. And now I'm gonna go and tack these on. I'm gonna take the other set, tack them on over there. You know, the outside one. And that way I have a gauge to where my other bar is gonna go on the rear. Before I took the 2 link bars off the table, I made sure that they were equal length. I stuck you know, rods in them, unscrewed the ends, got them squared. So now I know that once I tack this on that side and bring the bar up under the rear, it's money. So then I just got to square up the bracket and then I can tack the bracket on. So it's starting to make more sense now. Well, it was making sense before, but I screwed up. It's just coming together now. That's what I meant to say. She's coming together now. Very nice. I still need to bend a 90-degree off of here up onto the upper portion of the chunk with an adjustable Heims end, and that will create a lock to prevent the pinion from rolling every time you hit the gas. Because currently right now you can rotate the rear, but once I do that, that will no longer happen. So, or I may just run a bar from here to here, something like that. I don't know, we'll see. Gonna be creative. I'm always looking for creativity. I could even come down onto here, whatever. I'm just saying, as long as there's something to stop that rear from rocking back and forth, we're golden. So let me get tacking and get this other one in here and get these airbags brackets welded up. One more thing I want to point out, I made a 4-inch block. This is an airbag, 2,600 pound, that would be fully collapsed. It's actually not exact, and the reason why I don't make it exact is, let's just say for argument's sake, I messed up a measurement here and I put everything together, the entire frame, everything, body, and I go, holy shit, car's not laying, what the hell? You know, messed up a measurement or something. It's better to have more compression in a situation like that than not have enough, because then you'd have to cut everything off and re-weld it and redo it. Big old pain in the ass. I'm not trying to create more work. So I compensated a 1/2 inch to a 3/4 inch, and I'm happy with that. So. Our brackets came out beautiful, handmade, cut freehand with a plasma cutter, trimmed up, cleaned up. Same with our link bar brackets on the rear, very nice. And basically, if I can grab this here, this is going to go like so, round about here, and that's where our bag is going to mount. I'm going to do some tubular bars to, you know, support it, and she should be good to go. One more thing we've got to do, obviously I mentioned it before, bend a 90 off of this with a Heim's end to prevent the pivot from rolling. Super important. Or I can go straight down to here. I may even just go straight down to here, keep it simple. Weld a piece of pipe on here, have it come straight up, have a Heim's end, you know, little bracket come off of it, screw into it, and that will lock this son of a gun in place, and it'll never move. And then you can adjust it. The beauty of it is just take your bolt out, unscrew it, you know, back to Heim's end, or screw the Heim's end in, and you can readjust your pinion. All right, guys, it's Monday. Happy belated Father's Day. Today is a big day. We are gonna officially start this jungle gym. So I'd like to go over a few things, what I'm thinking. Then we got to transfer my thoughts onto the chalkboard and connect the dots and build the jungle gym. Here we go. So I'm an early bird. Yesterday, while everyone was sleeping, I was out here in the garage making airbag brackets and coming up with ideas on how I want to tackle this situation. This is Shelly's fuel cell. At some point, they're going to need to add a 90-degree bend on this and run this into the fuel tank. But I'm wondering if I should lower this down to help them get access to the fuel fill, which is on the tail light on the wagon. So either way, what I'm thinking of doing is, first things first, I'm going to weld a bar across. Okay, this is all going to be 1.5 inch tube. I'm going to bend two tubes. We're going to come forward. I'm going to go to a 45, and then we're going to bend the 90, and it's going to come up the backside of the fuel cell onto the bar. And basically what that's going to do is it'll allow me to create some sort of mounting tabs for the fuel cell, and it creates structure in the backside of the frame. I also neglected to mention at the bottom of the frame rail here, it'll be a 90-degree, so it'll go, see if I can do it like this. I'll do a 90, a short 90, right, to a 45, and then another 90 coming up to this bar right here. So we got a lot of prep work to do, a lot of sanding, a lot of cleaning, because my pipes are rusty. I got a really good deal on these pipes, I don't know, a couple years ago. So they've been sitting in the corner over there for a while. We're going to donate these pipes to the cause, because I'm like that. I want to help people. I'm going to get this thing started. Let's go. What are you waiting on? You're not done already? What the heck? So before we hit the chalkboard, one of the things I wanted to put onto the chassis was our, we'll call it a midpoint bar. I'm going to run the seam facing up. This way, if you look at it from the ground, this is seam tube, not DOM tube, drawn over mandrel. There's a line that runs right down the center. You see the seam right here across my finger. Our bar is parallel to the back side of the frame. Very important, we double check that. So our bar is at 0. Our chassis is at 0. We could remove our fuel cell. This is basically where the fuel cell is going to stop. Might be a little around here, but whatever. So next, we're going to need to cut these braces out of here. We don't need them anymore. I have to see what's practical once I start bending the tube, because for all I know, I may have to move these lines in, but we'll see. It all depends on where I put the 45. I could put the 45 here, and I may not be able to get it. It won't fit in the die. I could put it back here, which should be more than sufficient. I could put it midway in between the tank. These are all the little things you've got to think about before you start bending tube, because there's practical and impractical. All right, so here's our center line on the chassis. I went 6 inches out, 6 inches out. This is where our pipe is going to start. It's going to have a 2 1/4 inch drop, meaning this is the bottom of the chassis, and the pipe will drop down 2 1/4 inches, which will lower the fuel cell 2 1/4 inches. So we started obviously at 0. Here's 10, here's 20, 30, 40, and obviously 50 will be up here. I had to do a cut and weld. I had it all figured out perfectly. My phone rang and I messed up. So shit happens. It's not the end of the world. Do a little more sanding, you'll never know that I had to do it. But basically, the way this works is this center line here represents the same on the table. R90 is going to get welded in the center here. It's going to come down 30 degrees to here, and it's going to get welded underneath the bottom side. Fuel cell will sit in this zone right here, and they'll be able to get their filler neck connected. He'll have to have somebody make him a new a new attachment there, or find some hose that fits over that to connect to the filler neck on the car. So we marked our pipe, we cleaned our pipe. It's been sitting on the wall, a little rusty. I don't recommend using rusty pipe. You can see that on the die. I'm going to wipe these down, soak them with some WD-40. That's why that's there. Always want to have clean dies. So another thing, I don't know if I mentioned or not, whenever you bend seamed tubing, you want your seam on the inside of the die as much as possible. Look at this as a shrinker and a stretcher, okay? So the inside gets shrunk, the outside gets stretched. If the seam was on the other side and you start bending, a hard 90, or maybe even a 120 bend or something, like a really aggressive bend, you have a chance of splitting the seam wide open. So it's ideal, again, to put your seam in the center. This side is shrinking, this side is stretching in the die. So it's important we get these two pieces mocked up first to go into the car. This is our starting point. This is going to be our focal point. If you don't know what focal means your attention grabber on the chassis. Your eyes are going to fix to this one point. That's how I want it to look. Right out of the gate, bending pipe is slightly difficult. So forgive me if I don't explain everything into detail on how you get your exact measurements, because I'm still trying to figure that out. And all it takes is one curveball, your phone to ring, or someone to, hey Jay, and your whole mind gets sidetracked, and then next thing you know, you forgot, which happened to me earlier, what you were doing. So back to work. So I'm going to take a pound on the die, and I refer taking a pound back to doing line work. That there is called a strap hoist, a hot hoist. That can become energized and work safely with it. But taking a pound means we're going to tighten before we bend. We cannot rotate our pipe. We got to verify that we're set at 0, and now we're good to start bending. I believe I'm low on air. I'll put a little WD on the die. Here we go. So the bender stops at 45 degrees. Well, it goes to 50 on this particular die, but when you come off the pedal, the pipe will spring back and it'll stop roughly 45 degrees. So that's stopped. Now we're going to back the pedal off, pull our pin, and reset the die. We're reclocking the die. Drop our pin, and we're ready to continue. I'm going to turn the compressor on. Such a noise box. So I'm still having an issue with the compressor. I thought it was the check valve. I believe it's something in the cylinder head, reed valve or something. When it goes to cycle back on at say 140 psi or 130, whatever it is, the compressor like deadheads itself and then trips the breaker. But when it's down to 60 psi, it won't. So anyway, here we go. We got air. Another one of my to-do lists. All right, so now we reclocked. See how I almost forgot? We reclocked our shoe, and we're gonna go. We need a 90-degree bend, and we're gonna stop it right around 94 degrees, because you'll see the spring back will put us at 90 degrees. My apologies with the fan. It's already hot in here. I'm already soaked. It's only 10 o'clock in the morning. Almost there. All right, now we're at 94 degrees. You see how it sprung itself back to 85? That's the die releasing the tension off the pipe. Now it wants to bend. That's about 95. Yeah, there we go. All right, so we've got our pipe sit here. This is the end of the bend. This is about here. This is going to be the start of the bend. So in other words, this is going to go in the die, the edge of the die. We're going to bend it 30 degrees, which is what this is. And by the time it gets to the end of the 30-degree bend, it'll have moved that much. So we're going to load this up in the die, and it's important to remember that we need this to bend to the left. All right, so I turned the fan off for this because I want you guys to hear this. If I rested the pipe just like this, I know my bender bends this way. So we need to flip our pipe that has to get bent 90 degrees. So that way when it bends, we have an opposite arc of this. We're going to use our angle finder. We're going to take a pound, put a little tension on it, And we're going to zero out our die, and we're ready to start. All right, so now we're at 0. We want to bend to 30. Which we're going to stop at 33 degrees. Right there. All right, guys. So originally my plan, pardon me, was to run the bars something like this. But I think this right here looks a whole lot nicer. So I'm gonna try to, this is a bit of a challenge doing this by yourself. Well, that's working out good. My magnet. I'm gonna put a little tack, a tackety tack here. I'm gonna throw a little tackety tack under here. And we're going to step back and we're going to take a look. Let's get our other pipe. I'll have to make some marks on where it needs to go. But I actually like that a whole lot nicer. It really is done, you know, on the fly. You have an idea on where you think you want something to be, and then it turns out it ends up some other way. Let's get our tape measure. 7 1/8. 7 1/8. Which is right there. All right, I think that looks good. Everything is squared right now. I want to just test the tank inside of here real quick. I'm going to end up putting you know, crossbar in between here to support the tank. Maybe I'll do a 90 underneath here, something like that. Same on the other side, but I think it looks good. It's always the details, my friend. Always the details that set you apart from everyone else. Stupid shit like this. I trim the top of this a little more, but that looks good. 3 more to go. Well, hell, mother trucking, yeah. I love it. I really, really love it. A lot of work. Took me all morning. A lot of pipe. There's probably 15 feet of pipe, maybe 20. I would say, no, excuse me, 20, 25 feet of pipe right here. This is where the fuel cell's going. Obviously, they'll have to put a 90 here to reach the filler neck. Man, that looks awesome. So this morphs into something much larger. This will tie into the airbags This will tie into the bridge. Everything is symmetrical. Basically 12 inches, 12 inches. Perfect for the fuel cell. And again, it's all about being different. Could I have gotten away with not doing this? Absolutely. Would it have looked as good? No. I don't think so. I think it's worth it. Probably gonna put a cross brace in between here and here for added strength. But that's gonna do it for today, man. I'm pooped. I wanna go in the pool. Sometimes it's all about letting your imagination run free. Super easy. All essentially, well, not all. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 90-degree bends and 2 30-degree bends. Measuring, fitment, testing, it's really all it is. You know, once you got an idea, just roll with it. That's at least what I do. This shit wasn't planned. I mean, this is all off the top of my head. So I'm gonna call it before I start messing pipe up because it's really hot out. Let's go see what the thermometer means, is saying. I think that's off a little bit. It's saying 102 degrees in here. Is it possible? Yeah. Am I used to it? Yeah. Could it be 95 in here? Sure it could. I mean, either way, we got it done. Another day in the books is a wrap. Catch you all tomorrow. Start fresh. We'll hit it hard. Well, before I break this contraption here loose, I wanted to show you guys. I needed an extra hand. I'm by myself, so I had to use this here pry bar. Onto the link bar, I had to crack it loose. It was off a smidgen. Put pressure on it to keep it up on there. And got her good. Everything's basically within a half a degree, which is money for me. I'm happy with that. I've got a 1-inch spacer up underneath the rear. So realistically, once you collapse a 2,600 pound bag inside of here, should they replace wheels or something, whatever, down the road you want to go with a bigger wheel, or my mistake, car doesn't lay right or something, there's a little bit of forgiveness there, 1 inch. So plus, like I said before, these are 4-inch stacks. We know that a 2,600 pound bag collapses around 3.5 inches, 3.25 inches or so. So it gives you a little bit of wiggle room, and that is money. So I think tomorrow what I'll do is start fooling with some bends. I'm gonna put a little gusset on here. I wanted to, you know, reinforce it. I honestly would not feel comfortable with only pipe, you know, coming over, welding to it, and then a little brace here. This is a big car, very heavy. Better to be safe than sorry. Like I said, throw a gusset up underneath, on the top, and then, you know, do your pipe to make it look aesthetically pleasing, and she'll be golden. Alrighty guys, I believe I've completed the jungle gym. Pretty simple, pretty basic, but has a powerful effect. I'm going to shrink the watts link down a little bit because this bar is going to hit, you know, that bend right there. I honestly think it looks a little too big anyway, so shrinking it down 1 inch on the top, inch on the bottom, and then shrinking the bracket, you know, obviously moving the brackets down accordingly. But I think it looks great. Pretty simple, it's clean. My jack's in the way, my apologies, I can't move it. But this is DOM tubing, this is pipe, extra stuff that I had laying around the shop. I wanted to use DOM here because of the strength for this bracket. That's our gusset, so to speak. And that's about it, man. I'm gonna put some tacks on it, and weld what I can weld while it's on this side up, and then we'll have to flip it and do the bottom side, you know. But I like it. Again, it's clean, it's simple, it's powerful. You look at it and you're like, wow, this looks great. I ran out of 1.5 inch tube, so I had to do a cut and weld here and a cut and weld there. Is what it is, man. You know, when you're working on a budget, you know, this shit's expensive. So once I do a little more sanding, you really won't know that it was cut and welded. And that's it. That's gonna be a wrap. So in this bag here, I've got some turnbuckles, well, Heim's joints. We're gonna make a bracket from here to here. You'll be able to adjust your pinion angle on both sides, left hand thread and right hand thread, and that should do it. Then basically the whole back half, oh, shocks, dang it. Just when you think you're done, I got shocks left I've got to do. We'll figure something out on where to stick them. But anyways, let me get back to work. Guys, moving right along. Started welding the bars up. We are going to make a turnbuckle to lock the pinion on the rear. Bracket to the rear, bracket to the 4-link bar, and then a turnbuckle in between that you can adjust with a jam nut to lock up once you've set your pinion angle. And this is basically what we've got. So I had some brackets from Speedway. I grounded the bottoms on these for the trailing arm. These are going to go on the rear. I just got to bevel the edges like this, and then we're going to get them welded up. We're going to weld the nuts. This is left hand thread, this is right hand thread. So once you have these locked in and you spin it, it'll expand or contract depending on the direction you turn it. Ladies and gentlemen, there it is. I've welded as much as I could with the chassis facing this way. Once I roll the chassis, I'll be able to get in all the little nooks and crannies from the bottom side because it'll be upside down. I'm going to pull the link bars out, weld them up, weld the tabs up, and you can see now my turnbuckle. Ow. That will adjust the pinion angle. So it's left hand, right hand thread. Like I said before, all you got to do is just think, just like this, and you're able to adjust your pinion angle, and that will hold the rear from rolling backwards. So I opted to lower the Watts link down 1 inch overall, top and bottom. I'm going to retrim the bushings because that bend right here was hitting the pipe, and the propeller looked ginormous. So I think it'll look more suitable for the vehicle. So we're going to lower the bracket down 1 inch. We're going to raise this bracket up 1 inch, trim the bottom side off, and we should be good to go. So I'm going to get this rear end all apart. I got to get the rear end out, get it up on a table so I can weld all the brackets up. This excess is going to get cut, weld as far as I can weld. He did not have a vent in his rear. Now he can put a vent in his rear. So things are looking good. Things are looking promising. Very happy for them. I got some more grinding I got to do on some welds. Not gonna lie, there was a couple of times where I'm like, can I see where the fuck I'm welding? What's going on? And I'm like adjusting the settings on the helmet. And I said, you know what? I'm putting glasses on. That's how you know you're getting old. Is what it is, man. Got to put the glasses on now. So I put the glasses on throughout everything, night and day. It's horrible to say. Obviously, I'm going to be 50 next year, but is what it is, man. So let me get this rear end apart. We'll catch up with you guys in a minute, in a hot New York minute, and we'll go from there. Okie dokie. Got a naked back half of the chassis, pulled the rear out. Gonna tomorrow get all this welded up, get everything welded up on the trailing arms, all cleaned up, nicey nice. and continue on moving. I'm very happy with how this come out, and I couldn't ask for anything better. A lot of time, a lot of thought went into this to get it to where it is right here. I hope you guys appreciate it, and we're gonna keep it moving. Well guys, this is definitely not how I wanted to end my video. Yesterday we had some bad storms, and I had a 3,400 pound tree, oak tree, come down across my yard, 50 feet tall. 3 trips to the landfill with my trailer. Huge thanks to Aaron from Garage Fab. Really appreciate you allowing me to use your content in the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. We'll see you this Saturday. And remember, without you, these videos are not possible. That is true and accurate information. Pulling the ripcord. Until Saturday. We'll see you then. Have a great day. Talk to y'all soon.